The case of the Speluncean explorers. A group of 5 explorers become trapped in a cave due to a landslide. They have limited food supplies and no source of nutrition. Through radio contact with the workers trying to rescue them, the explorers learn that by the time they are rescued, they are likely to have died due to starvation. They decide to kill and eat one of their own team members, namely Roger Whetmore, so as to avoid the death of all 5 of them. On being rescued, the 4 surviving team members are accused of the murder of their 5th member. All rise!
The court is in session. We now proceed with the case. The prosecutor may begin with his opening statement.
To begin with, let us elaborate a little more on 2 facts of the case. First, although it was Roger Whetmore himself who suggested this plan to cast a pair of dice to elect the person to be killed, testimonies given by the 4 surviving explorers show that before the dice were cast, he did say that he wanted to withdraw from this arrangement and he suggested waiting another week before undergoing with the plan. Now, I would like to seek the court's permission to provide testimonies to the court.
Permission granted.
This indicates that his consent was not taken and he was included in the plan despite him clearly saying that he did not want to be included. The court acquitting these men would have disastrous consequences. It would set a precedent which would let many more such people go free if a case as such involving cannibalism ever comes to the court again, thus further obstructing justice. Second, when the explorers established radio contact with the workers and medical experts, they were informed that by the time they would be rescued, they were unlikely to survive and would probably die of starvation. The jury should note that the medical experts did not say that the survival of the explorers for another 10 days was impossible, but rather simply unlikely. This proves that the explorers did not have any reason to go through with such a rash and violent plan. The prosecution now rests its opening statement.
The defendant may now begin with her opening statement.
To begin with, I would like to ask, is it not true that had Whetmore been Lebby, these 4 explorers present here today wouldn't have been alive at all? Second, the law of nature itself means that the survival prevails above all and it should prevail for the sake of justice. The defendant would like to seek the permission to provide the testimony for the facts of the case.
Permission granted.
I would like to draw light on the fact that the testimony of the accused shows that the 10 rescuers were killed during the course of saving the explorers. It was proper that these 10 lives should be sacrificed to save the lives of the 5 imprisoned explorers. Why then are we told it was wrong for these explorers to carry out an arrangement which would have saved 4 lives at the cost of 1? One of the major components of a murder is a malified intent, which is clearly lacking in this case. The defendant would like to raise the opening statement now.
The prosecution would now like to call the accused, Robert Benjamin, to the stand for questioning.
Permission granted.
The prosecution seeks permission to move to the first question.
Permission granted.
Did Roger Whetmore withdraw his consent to be included in the plan?
Although it was Roger's idea to choose someone for sacrificing for the survival of others, he later withdrew from the same arrangement.
Point to be noted by the jury and the judge. The plan went on without the consent of Robert Whetmore. The prosecution now seeks permission to move to the second question.
Permission granted.
Did you and the other 3 explorers exploit Roger Whetmore's unstable mental condition to ensure he was a part of the plan?
Objection, my lord, assumes facts, not evidence.
Objection sustained.
Question withdrawn. The prosecution now seeks permission to move to the third question.
Permission granted.
On making contact with medical experts, did they say that your survival for another 10 days was unlikely or impossible.
When we established contact with the medical experts, we were told that the possibility of survival of our group was unlikely, and there was definitely little possibility.
But did they say that it was impossible?
No, they did not say that.
Point to be noted by the jury and the judge. These medical experts did not say that the survival of these 4 explorers in the cave was impossible, and thus there was a chance that they could have survived for another 10 days. The prosecution now concludes its questions.
The counsel would like to cross-question the accused.
Permission granted.
The court would like to know who came with the idea of casting the dice.
When we established radio contact, we were told that it was unlikely for us to survive for a span of 10 days. And Roger Whetmore came up with the idea to sacrifice someone for the survival of others, and hence we followed his ideas.
The court would like to seek permission to move on to the second question.
Permission granted.
Did the late Mr. Roger Whetmore, or did he not have any objection with the fairness of the casting of the dice for the very purpose of cannibalism?
Even though Roger Whetmore later withdrew from the same arrangement, when we asked him whether he had any objection as to the fairness of the casting of the dice, he denied.
Point to be noted, my lord. Even when they were casting the dices, he had no problem. Roger Whetmore himself was the one who came up with the idea itself, and the other just agreed to take part in the sacrifice. The defense now ends its questions.
The accused is dismissed. The prosecutor may now begin with his closing statement.
The prosecution would like to emphasize on the fact and remind the jury that these 4 explorers committed the crime. They took part in the violent and heinous act of cannibalism, which is illegal in all of the societies that exist today. Would the jury and the judge really prefer it if such a violent act went unnoticed and unpunished, as if these criminals are acquitted, then such further acts that come to the court will also go unpunished. With that, I rest my case.
The defendant may now begin with her closing statement.
The counsel would like to draw close attention to the fact that unfortunate events led to the demise of late Mr. Whetmore was solely for the survival of the 4 explorers, which was initiated by late Mr. Whetmore himself. Therefore, the counsel prays for the dismissal of the case. With that, the defense rests this case.
The jury has taken into consideration both the prosecution and the defendant's side. But the very fact that goes unnoticed in this very crucial case is that this case is an inspiration, is an example for the society and how crimes go in the society. And so, without going to the legal facts and the legal data that exists in our lengthy documents, we should go by what the society and what the public thinks. Both the prosecution and the defendant's side has very well explained the fact that why the accused should be punished, or as to why the accused should be acquitted. But who here is the decision maker is the people, as the society is the one which suffers when a crime takes into place. I would also like to bring into notice that my very worthy colleagues have taken into crucial legalities but have gone unnoticed with what the public thought. But unlikely, we conducted a survey to notice and to see how people thought of this case to be. Without going by the literary compilation of what the laws sustain to be, we should go with what the law's interpretation should be in such a crucial situation. Well, the demise of Roger Whetmore was a very sad event and shouldn't have taken place. But at the same time, we cannot deny but notice the fact that the 4 explorers were in a very crucial position. And that is what our public says. The public's consent says that the four explorers should be acquitted because the crime that has been committed, or the very unfortunate event that has led to Mr. Whetmore's death, is very sad, but still the explorers had no intent of killing him, but it was just for a mere survival. The jury would also like to bring into notice that initially Mr. Whetmore had given his consent, as to even he agreed that it was a crucial situation what had been created. It was a do or die situation and a decision had to be made. The five of them thought of casting the dice together, but at a moment Roger Whetmore felt weak and he decided to back off. Although his death cannot be justified and it is a very sad loss, but going with what 90% of the public thought, the court would like to favor the defendant's side and acquit the four explorers. The court would like to rest the case.